Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Front Office Sports webinar. Joe Londergan here with you once again. Very happy to have you. Hope you all are staying safe and healthy as we continue to navigate these weird times for the sports industry. And today we are talking TikTok and social measurement strategy. TikTok, of course, being the social video platform that has taken the sports space and the world really by storm. But of course, you have to have the proper strategy behind it in order to make a difference for your organization. Right off the top here, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat, get acquainted with each other, get friendly by all means. If you have questions as we go ahead and drop those in the questions tab. I'll be proposing those to our panelists as we go, and we'll also have some time set aside at the end to go through as many of those as we can. And if you prefer to have the chat notifications turned off, go ahead and click the bell at the top there. Like I said, very excited to jump into it with this group today. We have Nick Cicero from Conviva and, of course, Stuart Drew of the Miami Dolphins here with us. Stuart, let's start with you. If you could give the good people at home an introduction to who you are and your role, I think that'd be a great way to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Super excited to be joining you guys to talk about TikTok, Conviva. So I've been at the Dolphins for a little over 3 years now, managing the Dolphins platforms, Hard Rock Stadium, as well as Miami Open and a few of our other sub-platforms. And then before that, started at Auburn, graduated 2015, was a social media intern there at the athletics department, moved on to Orlando City, got a ton of great experience there, was there for 1.5 years and then made the move to the Dolphins. And so for me, wanted to be in sports, stay in sports, and continue to evolve the Dolphins platforms as well as our others to make sure that, we're using the most up-to-date platforms when it comes to any sort of social, new apps like TikTok. I think that one kind of hit us in the face. And, I think we've gotten some really great moments off of it, but it's definitely been a learning curve for sure.
Awesome. Getting a lot of Dolphins fans and War Eagle fans in the chat already. Nick from Conviva, I know you've been on here once or twice with us before, but if you want to give the people an introduction to who you are and what Conviva does.
Sure. So, hey, everybody, I'm Nick Cicero. I'm the Vice President of Strategy here at Conviva. Conviva is a video intelligence company, and we also have a social analytics product, Conviva Social Insights. I started a company called Delmondo back in 2014, and we built the first analytics for Snapchat and then kind of expanded to include all social measurement across Facebook, Instagram Stories, Twitter, YouTube. And as of last week, we also added TikTok to the mix. So Conviva acquired our company Delmondo about 1.5 years ago. And we work with awesome companies like the Dolphins, as well as a number of other media companies, news organizations, sports teams, leagues, all sorts of publishers to help them really measure all of the social analytics across these different channels.
Awesome. So Stuart, throwing it back to you, obviously like the NFL has been really receptive to kind of the impact that TikTok can have on social measurement strategy. And in particular, like the Conviva guys have told me a lot about how the Dolphins are a very data-driven organization. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that and how that pertains specifically to your TikTok strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to, being data-driven, we've been using Conviva, for a few years, able to pull analytics, create campaigns, tracking. And for us, it really kind of just gives us that real information, just, hey, this performed well, this didn't. It's very, it's black and white. And so for us, we're able to see, okay, this performed well, let's take a look at how this performed well. And then this didn't perform well, even if we thought it was going to perform well. So it really kind of gives us that, real measurement of how we're performing socially across all platforms. And with TikTok, we started with TikTok back at the end of September. We're doing some research and kind of wanted to see what other teams were doing. We jumped in on it, and for us, we thought we would have some really big successes and with one video, and it didn't perform as well. So it's definitely a learning curve for us. So being able to then eventually get the analytics through the platform and now getting the analytics through Conviva has been a really big help for us because we can really dive into, okay, this video performed and here's the audience that it reached. This video is back trending again after, we posted it in October. It is really interesting because with TikTok, how things start, trending and retrending again, just being able to measure that has been really unique for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys invested a lot in kind of setting that baseline early on as well. I remember when we met in I think November of last year, we started to talk about, TikTok across other teams in the league, who was performing, what was the average, and that also kind of helped to your team internally kind of set those benchmarks to be able to understand, at least for what we know right now, like what is a good post, what is a post that underperforms for us, because it might be different for everybody based on, the type of account that you are and the types of content that you publish.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think that everyone has their own, their baseline of what they're trying to succeed with. And I think for us, after we started building a following, showing that we were on TikTok, we saw different types of videos perform. Is it hitting that trend? Is it hitting the music? Is it hitting the filter? So for us, it was definitely a learning process. And I think that's, a unique thing about TikTok. Right now, it's the newest platform. And so for us to be able to kind of experiment and learn what those fans were consuming, because they're completely different than your average Facebook user, Instagram user, or even Twitter user. So, you have that, you have to find that sweet spot of the perfect content for that fan, because it is different than, I would say, any other platform right now.
Stuart, what do you think has been the biggest hurdle to get over from a strategy standpoint in terms of like developing a consistent plan for how you all want to execute on that channel?
Yeah, so I think for us, with all the other platforms, there's, you try to post throughout the day. I mean, we could post 5 times on TikTok in a row, and it really doesn't impact the algorithm at all. You could post at 2 o'clock in the morning if you wanted to, and that's not going to impact you like it would on Facebook or Twitter. And then we also learned that, originally we kind of had some almost pre-produced TikToks from old footage that we had, but we really learned that it was the cell phone videos, it was the stuff that we had maybe collected on a game day 2 weeks ago, and we're like, oh, this works with this trend, let's just jump on it. It was just really quick performing pieces of content that our social team was able to, see a trend, create something, and then we'd be like, all right, this works for our brand, let's do it. So instead of, making those more produced pieces, and we learned that pretty early on, but it was definitely, it's a learning curve for sure.
Mm-hmm. Do you almost feel like there's an advantage with like being able to use those pre-produced pieces of content like you mentioned?
I think that there's, if we had, our Q&A segments are pretty popular with our players. So if a player had, a funny reaction to one of the questions, like we might just cut that up and like, let's just see how this performs. I think that, again, kind of goes back to the experimenting on TikTok, which has been really unique. We had a video for in the locker room after a win with one of our players celebrating. And then, Christmas was coming up and we're like, let's just put this on with Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. And, it's just kind of piecing those two together, and it performed really well. And then we posted it on social, and then it started retrending around Christmas. So again, you put something out that you think, okay, this might be funny, our fans might like this, and then performs pretty well. And then, around Christmas time, it starts recirculating again. So I think that it's a balance, and some things might really perform well and blow up, and in some you just don't get those kind of numbers that you might want.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting on TikTok how you have the different elements, creative elements that you have to use within the platform. So it's inevitable that you're going to use some type of music or an audio track, and that adds a dimension to your post. There's obviously the copy and the caption that you create and all the different effects that you use as well. And you have other platforms like Instagram where you have different content types, right? You have Instagram stories, you have photos or videos or carousels, but on TikTok, it's all videos with some live video kind of mixed into that today. So there's a little bit more creativity in that testing and learning that you need to have to kind of figure out, what's the right combination. Am I somebody that's creating a lot of my own original audio, or am I tapping into the music and the songs that are available too? So that's another reason why you also have to have some of these analytics to be able to track them, right? Because you want to be able to look back, 2-3 weeks or last month or even last season, to be able to say, okay, great, well, here's the type of content that worked, and we're going back and here are the things that we could do this year with new pieces of content that we're going to plan out, we're going to create.
Yeah, most definitely. I completely agree with you on that. And if you hit like the copy, the copywriting, the sound, the filter, and the video, if all three of those, kind of work together perfectly, then your video really can start performing to the full potential. But I think that, it is, you have to kind of think in three different dimensions. Does the trend work? Does the filter work? And then does the music work too? So it's, you kind of have to think about all three of those things.
Question for both of you. Do you feel like TikTok as a platform has kind of turned the corner from one that was ripe for experimentation, like you both have mentioned at some point during this webinar so far, into something more like mature, advanced, that, the need for things like this have to be there so that companies know how to incorporate it into their strategy properly?
I mean, I guess for me, I think that, we really want to see what the fans want, because like I said, it is a totally different audience. It's younger than any other audience, and it's more, for us at least, it's more female than any of our other audiences. So we just want to make sure that we're tailoring content to those fans, because, we just want to make sure that we're not just putting something out on TikTok just to put it out there to check a box. We want to make sure that we're getting content out there that is to those fans that they would find engaging. And then also, it might not be something that we even put out on Instagram or Facebook just because we know it's not going to perform, and that's okay. If we have to make a one-off video for TikTok, like we're all in on that. So I think that, there is the strategy component, but also like it's a fun platform. You don't want to take yourself too seriously on it. But you also want to make sure that you're within your, like, whatever your established brand guidelines are as well, to make sure that you're hitting both, your brand guidelines as well as the audience too.
Yeah. I mean, from our side, right, we've been talking to customers probably for the past year and a half about TikTok, and with some of our customers even longer when it was more Musical.ly here, some more of our entertainment customers. And so we evaluate all the different social platforms, right, when we decide to incorporate it into like a measurement system, and what is the time being spent, what are the resources that are going into it. And it's clear to us that in the past, I would say 6 to 9 months, the second half of 2019 in particular, it definitely started to pick up and turn the corner. I think that you look at some of the executive leadership changes. They brought somebody in that's really focused on streaming and experience into the company. There is a lot of entertainment content that is really engaging. And so I think that's where we're starting to see, and that's why we rolled out those analytics in our platform, is because, for companies like the Dolphins and other enterprise organizations and, kind of top tier publishers that are creating on these platforms, it starts to turn the corner where you need that next level of measurement to be able to invest the time and the resources. Because even though it sounds fun to make a TikTok, right, I think that, and nobody would argue that it's not kind of like a fun and very creative, but that's still time and energy, and time is money. So in order to be able to kind of prove the value of that for your company and the return that you're getting on that, it's really important to be able to measure the investment in it. But like I said, what we've seen is just an overwhelming reaction to it. And I think that, there are kind of generational social platforms, and I think Snapchat was probably the last big generational social platform to come on. And I think TikTok has absolutely kind of proven itself in that same vein. So we're getting asked about it every day from all the folks that we work with. So it's definitely something that I think that people are investing a lot more time in. We have about 300 people on the webinar right now. So it's clear that those are a lot of organizations that are interested in investing a lot of time on TikTok.
Nick, what are some of the things that, whether it be the Dolphins or another one of your clients, that they're coming to and trying to understand, like, what are the important analytics that we really need to be finding value in from a measurement standpoint for TikTok?
Yeah, and I'll just going to give a high level, and I'm sure that Stuart can speak to some of the ones that they've done. But some of the core metrics I think that we're always looking at are, what are the account level metrics? So what are my engagements, my video views, how are my followers and my account growing? That's some of the first metrics that will help give you an understanding. But when it comes down to the actual pieces of content themselves, what we're looking at is, depending on kind of the goal, right? If you're looking for more interaction and engagement and discussion, you might look at TikTok posts that have a lot of comments, right? Or have a high engagement rate, for example. If you're looking for somebody that's a little bit more invested in a video, we're seeing TikTok videos become a lot longer than they used to be when it first started. You might look at a metric like the average watch time or minutes consumed on one of your pieces of content. But I think one of the kind of most important metrics right now from a single piece of content is definitely that engagement rate. And because TikTok is not so feed driven as much as it is algorithmically driven, that engagement rate is going to really help give you a sense of, is this piece of content that I'm making breaking out, aside from kind of the people that know and like my brand and come to my account and watch my TikToks. But as Stuart mentioned, when they jump on a trend or they use a hashtag or a popular song or a piece of sound, when you match all of those together, you can see a piece of content kind of break out from your normal publishing. So being able to look and see what were the types of things that caused those breakout pieces of content, it's really helping give you that direction of, here are maybe some of the types of elements that we might try to recreate as we think about our content strategy in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, we want to create stuff that is shareable content, that is engaging content, that someone sees that and they're like, oh, I want to send this to my friends. And hopefully, the Dolphins are going to create more content like this. So, for us, I would agree the engagement rate is very important for us. We want to see our fans, like, are they watching it, or are they engaging with it? Or are they doing a mixture of both? Or, are they seeing it and then they're just scrolling through, especially because TikTok is such a scrollable app compared to any other social account. In my opinion, you just open it up and a video starts playing. It's not like I have my TikTok account just to like recommend it for you. Like, I follow people, but I hardly switch to, okay, I'm gonna, look at just the people that I follow, because I think the beauty about TikTok, and we all can understand this, is that you just get caught into the cycle of just continuing to scroll. So, for us, we want to stop you in your scrolling and then be like, oh, like, the Dolphins created something pretty funny. It's not just football focused, and we want to, I want to go look at their profile. But I think that engagement rate really is a great way to measure that. People are stopping from their scrolling, they're clicking, they're liking, they're following. But I think for us, seeing that engagement rate is really important.
Totally makes sense. So one of the questions that we got from the chat that I feel like is a nice segue, what specific measurements do you pull from TikTok that are different from the ones that you would pull from an Instagram, from a Twitter, from a Facebook, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for us, I think that one of the features, in Convivo, we can see profile views, we can see, the daily video views. And also, like, for us, I was actually just looking at our profile and our analytics on TikTok as well. You can see trending videos, and then that increases your video views. And for us, like, there's a video that, again, we posted in October, and it still continues to retrend, every 7 days. And so that's interesting for us to see that, okay, not all of these video views are coming from this post that we posted, 2 weeks ago. These video views are still growing from previous content that we're pushing out. So, and honestly, for us, just with kind of everything going on, we've only posted on TikTok once in the last few weeks, but we can see, okay, here's our engagements here, but then we can also see, oh, not all of these video views are coming from just this video. We're also able to see that the video views are coming from other videos that we've posted in the past as well.
So that's interesting that a video can live that long and then still pick up steam for your account.
Oh, I think this is like one of the few places that really can happen. A video that's 5 months old, or 6 months old can come back. I think that's, the trends, I think, that really can help recirculate that. So I think that it is something interesting to keep an eye on because it's more evergreen content, I guess, than what you're posting out on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook.
Certainly makes sense. I guess question for both of you then. One of the questions that keeps popping up is the issue with copyright and music that kind of surrounds TikTok. How are you guys kind of approaching that issue with how organizations can use that specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess our last TikTok video, and we honestly haven't done a TikTok video since all of that news came out, but we're also working with players to get some user-generated content that they're sending us. The example, our last post was Mike Gesicki throwing a football over a house and running through the garage to catch it. And so for that is something that we asked him if we could use it on their social platforms. There's no music, but we were able to get the hashtag, and I have it pulled up. It was just hashtag keeping active, and I think that was a hashtag that was trending at that time. So, it kind of forces you to think smarter. I mean, it's it's tough when, information about restrictions with music rights comes out, but I think it kind of forces brands to also, think a little bit smarter, even though TikTok is so sound-based as well.
It definitely makes sense. So leaning back into sponsorship, we're getting a lot of questions about that too. How have you guys at the Dolphins kind of incorporated like sponsorship and corporate partners into some of these TikTok campaigns, and what analytics are they finding value in? And then Nick, same question for you as far as the conversations that you're having with all your other partners.
Yeah, so for us, we actually have not done any sort of campaigns with partnerships yet because we really want to learn the platform, and also we want to make sure, since obviously I think in the last probably 3 to 4 months, I've seen more ads on TikTok than I ever have before. It's something, we want to look into, but we also want to make sure that we're keeping our audience engaged organically, but then also looking for opportunities to do any sort of sponsored content. We just want to make sure that it integrates well with our objectives of reaching a younger demographic. So we have not done anything yet, but I think that just seeing the ads that pop up on when you open up the app, I think that it definitely shows that it's a pretty big priority for TikTok, and I think that we just want to make sure that we're doing it right for our brands.
Yeah, I would kind of echo that. I mean, we definitely have had conversations with partners that are certainly interested in it. I think that everybody's partnership team would agree that if you give somebody to sell, they'll definitely go and try to sell it. So we have a lot of folks that are really interested in it, but the same thing that Stuart mentioned is that it's still a little bit new to kind of also predict, what level can I deliver, right, without ruining the brand, without coming off as, overly obtrusive, right, coming into that video. Also, I think that certain types of content on TikTok, while some will probably work really well natively, kind of being integrated in the video, I think some of the better types of activations will be ones that do bring fans in or athletes involved. I saw that there was a question about bringing your athletes in, which we'll probably get to. So I also think that it's more than just slapping a logo into a TikTok video. It's got to be a little bit more than that, and I think that's where we're starting to see people move beyond, okay, we could sell this, to, okay, how can we come up with a little bit more of a creative campaign? How about we tap into some of the new paid functionality that you can use on TikTok, or even partner directly with TikTok, for the bigger brands and leagues and publishers that we've talked to, and they want to figure out, how can they tap into some of the larger activations that TikTok can do and offer, bigger advertisers. So I think we're definitely in kind of the first phase of all of that. Once again, in order to sell, you have to have the data to back that up, to know what you can deliver. And that's still where we're at right now, where a lot of the folks are still trying to pull in the performance of their content on TikTok, assess the performance of what they could deliver if they did run a campaign for a partner, and once again, be able to know that they could execute on that without kind of tainting the brand. So still early, but I'm sure we'll see a lot in the next year in that.
Definitely makes sense. Stuart, question for you. Nick mentioned that there's questions about athletes getting involved in TikTok and your all strategy. I guess to what kind of extent are you all involving the players in A, encouraging them to participate in the platform, and B, kind of going along with the team initiatives on the platform?
Yeah, definitely. I think for us, some of our players kind of during this time of social distancing, they created their own TikToks. And so we, have kind of kept an eye on those. We want to, we're not obviously going to force a player to be like, hey, you need to get on TikTok, but, we'll message them and say, hey, we saw this on your TikTok. Can we reshare it, give you video credit? Any way that we would do the same as on Twitter or Instagram, giving the player the credit. The Mike Gesicki example, we saw that on his Instagram story, and we were able to get the footage from him, posted it on Twitter, and then also Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And, I think it kind of reached a totally different audience on each one. But I think, I think for us, if a player has a good piece of content, we're like, what, this could actually perform pretty well. Let's kind of keep it in our files. And if there's a trend that it works for, it works. But again, we're not going to reach out to a guy and be like, hey, can you, especially right now, it's a little bit harder, I think, working from home. But, if there is a TikTok trend that we know, like a guy who loves to dance on the field, during warmups, can we repurpose some of that footage that we already have instead of, having to reach out to the guys as well. But I think that, the more that guys get on TikTok, of course we're gonna follow those. And, if we think that something could, we could post on our account to, one, get their account more exposure, and then also to create some engaging content, we'll do that for sure. But we just want to make sure that we're, going through the proper channels of getting that content from our guys.
Gotcha. Nick, question for you. One question that came up that I wanted to toss your way. There seems to be kind of an issue when these platforms pop up that users can't necessarily get the data and the analytics that they want natively on the platform right away. What does Conviva kind of provide your partners with that they can't get on the TikTok platform for people that are wanting to know?
Yeah, and I think there are varying levels of accounts on TikTok. So depending on how if you're a pro account or not, there are some analytics that you can get from TikTok's web interface, and then obviously inside of the app you can get analytics for your own posts if you are kind of a pro account as well. The problem is, and I think that even that'll answer two questions. If you kind of are the level where you're a really small to medium-sized team or business or organization, right? You may not have as much money to invest in other platforms. You can actually manually record some of the data from the TikTok app, right? So before you had platforms that can provide analytics, or you're manually copying down, you're taking a screenshot, you're recording those metrics every day inside of a spreadsheet, and you're saving that. And you have to dedicate somebody, and they have to make sure that they're pulling that every day. It's updating, all right. And obviously that can be challenging, but you can get the job done. And we've published some articles and some reports that we can share around that'll help everybody kind of give them a direction of where to start. I think when you kind of go up to the next level and you start to invest more time and resources into TikTok, or you're a group like the Dolphins, or an organization that publishes a lot of content everywhere on every platform every day, obviously being able to track that and centralize that in one place is very difficult. So there are some limitations from even some of the native analytics, right? So if you're just using the app, you can't really export analytics out of your app without screenshotting them. If you're using some of the web interfaces that they provide, well, that data isn't there forever. It's only there for a limited window, and it also, once again, is without kind of context. So a lot of the other metrics that we use for a barometer of success, like engagement rates and others that we've kind of added in those formulas into the platform, makes it really easy to be able to not only track it every day and not have to worry about logging in to multiple places, multiple accounts, but also gives you a little bit more, insight into what works and what doesn't, and being able to store that over the course of a long period of time. So right now, when the Dolphins go in and they're in week 6, they're going to want to be able to see some of the content from the off season and other campaigns that they're running, and they want to group all of that together. So being able to not only see the performance in a place where you can manipulate the data and also have a little bit deeper and more control over that, Also having that source of truth where it can be combined with all of your other platforms, and you can see also the impact of that content. So once again, if a group like the Dolphins wants to decide to make a lot more TikTok content in the coming season, they have to justify the value, and somewhere else is going to have to shift, right? They may make a little bit less content on one platform, or maybe not. Maybe they'll just decide to double down and just say, well, hey, we're going to make more on TikTok than we thought we would. But once again, you need to be able to kind of measure that in the context of all of your different channels and all of your different platforms. So once again, having that in a centralized location, as well as those specialized metrics, being able to really help give you a direction of just the posts themselves.
This is kind of a two-part question for you all. With Conviva, are teams able to kind of track like mentions and like organic, ads, I guess, if for to use a term from other social media platforms, of people tagging them in their content? And how important is that to your measurement strategy for someone like the Dolphins?
So I'll first say that we're not measuring kind of what your fans might be posting at the current time, but I do think that, obviously, if you are running more activations that encourage people to do user-generated content, I think obviously you want to be able to track, and you want to be able to pull all of the posts around people that are using a hashtag that you might be creating as well. So Stuart, you may want to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, when it comes to mentions, I think that we really try to, do that organically from the platform side. But for us, when it does come to a hashtag, and now that Twitter's made it a little bit easier to do, seeing retweets and retweeting with comments, I think that's a huge help for us to make sure that we're not missing people that we can engage with. So, it's not a perfect answer coming from me, but I think that for us, we do use the organic tools, as well as in our Facebook group, which we're pretty active in. We're able to do keywords as well in there.
Gotcha. This is a question from Neil. Any idiosyncratic insights or ahas from the minutia metrics behind TikTok success, i.e. length, cuts, frames, basically like editing tricks that you see are getting like particularly good traction when you guys create content on the platform?
For us, it's been kind of interesting. It can be anywhere from a 10-second video to nearly a minute video. One of our best performing videos was during the holidays, and it was a kid unwrapping a gift at a toy distribution, and he got a laptop, and just seeing his face. And that was a pretty long video, and that was just straight footage. No, I don't think we really had any audio behind it. So I think that it's kind of tough because, we might have audio behind one video, it doesn't perform that great. We might have no audio behind another video, and it blows up. So it is kind of that balance. And you do see pretty quickly if a video is going to take off on TikTok, but I think it is good, to test, okay, is this going to be a 10-second video compared to a 60-second video? I think for us, that is something that we continue to, play around with, because we're still trying to figure that out as well on our platform.
In terms of length, there's a lot of questions about like video length on there. Obviously, you can do the 60-second, you can do the 10-second, but what do you find people are seeing the most success with in terms of length of content on TikTok?
I mean, speaking from us, I think that, for us, most of our content, I would say when we're building it out, we use the 60-second option because we might have something that is, 20 to 30 seconds. But for us, I think that we've seen a lot of success with probably that 20 to 30 second range.
Gotcha. No, that totally makes sense. Nick, are you kind of seeing the same thing from your other partners?
I don't think we've done like a deep dive on kind of the video length yet, but we are working on some new TikTok analytic benchmark reports, kind of like the last report that we put out. So we are looking at kind of the length of the video and how that is impacting some of the engagement. So we'll definitely have more data to come.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess there's questions about kind of the longevity of TikTok as a platform. And I guess one question from Taylor here: do you see TikTok as a social sharing app with real longevity, or is it still in kind of the viral stages? I think we talked a little bit about this, but I guess what are your kind of impressions about whether or not TikTok can go the distance as a platform?
I mean, personally for me, I was like, I don't like, when we had just kind of started talking about getting on TikTok, I was like, I really don't understand this platform. Like, I just don't think it fit. I was not a believer in it. But I think that with just the popularity of, this is a whole different audience that we're reaching, than on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It's younger than ever. We're wanting to, get our brand out there to younger fans. I think that, I think that it's still continuing to grow in popularity. There's now TikTok influencers that have millions and millions of followers. I think that it's trending in the right direction. And I think that, it still is that shiny new toy. And it will be interesting, like, if Instagram or Twitter decide to come up with some sort of like competitor that's already built in that app, could that kind of dethrone it a little bit? But I think that, right now it still is extremely popular. I mean, we continue to still see, growth in following. So I think for us, right now, like, we're all in on it, and we will continue to be until, we feel otherwise. But I do think that, it is interesting, especially right now. We haven't had another platform come in that might kind of disrupt that a little bit. But right now I feel pretty confident in it.
The last like 2 to 3 months, especially, it feels like it's definitely had an influence on the amount of people who are adopting the platform, not just from like a team perspective, but just as individual users. How do you think that has really affected your all strategy with the platform and with like measurement specifically?
I think for us, it was kind of, everyone went into quarantine, and it was a little bit tougher for us, I guess, because, normally during that time, we have free agency, schedule release, draft. And so we're in the building when the players are in the building too. So we had to be a little bit creative, but we also didn't want to force content as well. And I think, there was a lot of, quarantine trends, staying at home, working at home. But we really still kept around, draft and kind of looking at draft memories in the past as well. So I do think, though, that like I have friends who said they would never get on TikTok, and then week 2 of working from home, they downloaded TikTok. So and they're very active on it now. So I think that, it's a good thing that, there's more and more people engaging with it. It will be interesting, though, to see like kind of, once people do start returning to work, and they're not working from home, do the active numbers drop off eventually?
Yeah, no, I would kind of echo that. I'd say that we've definitely seen a huge surge in people jumping on TikTok. Yes, they're home. And I think that, there was another question about some of the demographics and how they've changed since the pandemic. And I don't have any hard numbers myself, but, I would say that you definitely are starting to see more and more people join TikTok than ever before. You had people like Gary Vee that did, a huge live stream yesterday and brought in all sorts of different types of personalities, and they participated in that all-in challenge that I think is probably, exposing them to different types of demographics. So from a marketing side, they're definitely investing more. I don't know if you guys watched, the Super Bowl this year, but probably did. There are a lot of TikTok bumpers and placements with Fox Sports as well. So they've obviously been aggressively growing to not just talking to quote unquote younger audiences, but certainly to folks of all ages. I would say that my mom, oftentimes she knows a lot more about what I do now than when we first started the company, but even she knows what a TikTok dance is. And she proceeds to tell me about that every time she talks about the TikTok analytics. So, there is a lot more people that have more exposure to it, I think, and are getting involved with it. Like I said before, and I know that some people mentioned that, I think the executive leadership that they've added is awesome. I think that they come from, an entertainment background, much more of a, like I said, a quality of experience and a customer experience background with what Disney's done. So I'm interested to see how that goes. And I have really think everything has been going their way. They've been growing. They're an emerging social platform at a time when people are turning to social. So I think that this year will be a big one, and it'll be really exciting to see Because once again, I know that people are investing a lot of their time on there, whether it's the publishers and teams or the influencers, right? We're seeing more creativity than we ever have. People are stuck inside, kids couldn't go to school, right? So they're turning to social platforms and they're coming up with new creative ideas and things that we wouldn't even probably have thought about had we not had that time to reflect and kind of flex your muscles in that way, as I've kind of said before. So I think that this whole situation has really allowed people to reevaluate all facets of their social strategy. So I think that especially with TikTok, people are certainly looking to that as a new opportunity, and you know, it is fun. I think there's a lot of fun content. It does bring people joy. From, you know, I never hear, you know, too much about people that are, you know, talking about, you know, the downsides of TikTok right now. I think a lot of people go there to be entertained and to enjoy themselves. So I think it fits in a good spot in the mix of social for all the different reasons that we have the different platforms today.
All really good points. Stuart, question for you guys. Obviously, it's still a pretty newish platform, but what were some of the struggles that you guys overcame when you were first starting your voice on that platform and really finding where the Dolphins fit in?
Yeah, I think that for us, we were still kind of like, okay, you know, how can we create successful content on here? So, you know, again, it was a little bit trial and error, and I know that that's like probably not the perfect answer, but for us, trial and error did work. You know, we saw something, we're like, okay, like we're not doing that again. Like let's try this, or let's create the content with actually within the app so we can use all of the filters and the different quality, like the different video effects that they have. And then when it comes to, you know, we saw, okay, we did, I think 6 posts within like 3 days of each other. And like, I think one of them performed pretty well. And then we had a game day and I used like the prism effect or whatever it was on like saying what our jersey uniform was. And for us, that video like really performed well in that moment. But then we saw, okay, that the first videos that we eventually posted, or the first videos that we ever posted, started trending later. So it was kind of, you know, that, okay, like let's try it this way, let's try it that way, kind of find that middle spot. And then, you know, we wanted to say to our other followers, hey, we are on TikTok, but we didn't also want to be like, hey, like every single post that we're posting out on TikTok, we're going to post that on our Instagram story. You know, we wanted to, I think we did maybe 1 or 2 posts. And then we also, if like that video, like the Mike Gesicki video, kind of going back to that, and I know I've used that as an example for a lot of things, but we posted that on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, all in different formats. So we didn't share the TikTok video onto Instagram or onto Twitter. We posted it differently on each of them. So TikTok was its own, Twitter was its own, and Instagram was its own, because we really don't think that, you know, people on TikTok are going to find us if they want to find us on the For You page, you know, a hashtag, etc. So, and again, it is such a different audience than Twitter and Instagram that we want to just make sure that we're catering specifically to each audience on each platform.
Just out of curiosity, like TikTok does have that advantage where you can repurpose the content that you make within the platform for things like Instagram, Twitter. How much does that factor into your overall measurement strategy when you take that content and you can repurpose it for other platforms?
I mean, for us, like at the beginning, it was very helpful, but then at the as we kind of started building our following, building that audience on TikTok, that was different than you know, than our Twitter following. We decided we wanted to kind of keep everything not separate in a sense, but we just wanted, you know, our TikTok following, they had their followers or their audience. You know, Twitter was different. So there was a little bit of cross promotion at the beginning, but we did want to eventually keep them, you know, where we weren't trying to force you to follow our TikTok by posting about it on Twitter.
Gotcha. Totally makes sense. So I guess nowadays, like, where are you all as TikTok creators really finding inspiration, whether it be in sports or outside of sports?
That's a great question. I mean, for us, you know, we try to look at trends. I mean, my team, like, we'll see something, we'll like, you know, from maybe one of the TikTok influencers or another brand, and we'll be like, hey, like, how can we do this? You know, can we put a spin on it that is Dolphins themed? You know, we have some footage of our mascot. We have some footage, you know, from obviously last season, some off-season stuff. But, again, like if we were like, okay, like we really think this could work, let's do it. Or I think that the biggest thing is being like, okay, could this work? Maybe this might not work. Okay, then we won't force it. So I think for us, we want to just make sure that we're, I guess being smart about how we're posting when it does come to that content.
Gotcha. So I guess we have time for a couple more questions if anybody wants to drop those in the chat here.
I would just say, I was just going to say that, I'd look to some of the top creators on the platform and look to the trends as well, because you'll see some of that. I know that I'm just scrolling through the chat here and I see Aaron from the Rays and a few other people talk about the step chickens, which, is kind of, I don't know what you want to call it. I probably am a little bit less informed, but it's, kind of a group cult, quote unquote, meme. There's a good article that kind of summarizes the whole story about that. But these pods of people that are all kind of engaging, interacting with one another, collaborating, so that community element of that. So I think it's always really good to be involved in the community early on. Obviously, testing often, looking and getting feedback from different accounts and getting advice from people that you like. Obviously, if you work at a cool organization, there's lots of folks here who work at kind of name brand businesses. There's certainly lots of people that you can collaborate with. We work with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I know that this year during the Super Bowl run, when TikTok was starting to really take off, they invested a lot in it around the Super Bowl and their run to the championship. But then like Dave Jorgensen from Washington Post is a huge Chiefs fan. So they were able to get together, hang out, meet, collaborate, and then make some videos together too. So I think that you never know, if you're not part of the community, what you can learn out of it. And then obviously those influencers, oftentimes, they quickly generate a large following, a lot of engagement. And while that may not always be the best example of what is the best content, it certainly will allow you to immerse yourself in these different trends, because it is kind of a different language than looking at Instagram or even Twitter, right? Where you're combining, essentially a lot of news bulletins, right? If you think about the articles that you might publish to Facebook or the links back to your website that you might tweet about, whereas on TikTok, it's definitely more of immersion and creation around the platform. So digging in there, I think that's really the best way to kind of learn and get inspiration.
And kind of just talking about influencers a little bit, our marketing team is really, working to continue to grow our influencer strategy, and we work really closely together. We haven't done anything on TikTok yet, but we have discovered a few influencers, in the South Florida area that we do want to work with, because, just getting our brand out there, showing that, we're working with these influencers, but again, we want to be smart with it. So, we're still in like the intro stages when it comes to TikTok specifically, but we've really, worked hard on it with Instagram around the draft and our schedule release. So I think, TikTok is definitely kind of that next step, and, seeing how, some of these influencers, they dance, they, do crazy art, things like that. So how can we integrate our brand smartly, and also just making sure that, it makes sense for both the influencer and the brand as well. So, discovering these influencers and making sure that, it works for both parties. And I think that more and more teams will do that. And I think we're excited to kind of see how that goes this year for us.
Oh, hello. My cat's making an appearance. I apologize. Yeah, so I think we have time for a couple more questions here. Once again, we appreciate everyone's time today as we talk about TikTok and social measurement strategy. Just to kind of wrap up, I feel like this is a good place to start that process. Stuart, when you compile kind of a report on your TikTok success for your bosses and really kind of try to illustrate the success that the team's having, what are the absolute most valuable metrics that you want to show to them to show that you're having success?
I mean, I think for us, it's kind of a mixture. You want to show your video views like, hey, we're getting seen by different accounts that might not be following us, obviously showcasing our growth. We saw a decent amount in the last 3 months with draft. But I think, showing the engagement. I think that, showing, hey, these people are not just, again, they're not just scrolling, seeing a second of our video and continuing to pass on. They're watching it, they're commenting on it, and then hopefully they're sharing it. And then, engaging with the community too. I think that Simran from our social team does a really good job at, commenting when fans like leave comments, and they enjoy seeing that, they're like, $5 that the Dolphins don't comment, and she's on it like within 30 seconds it seems, and then everyone's like, oh, the Dolphins are commenting, they are engaging. So for us, we want to show that we're a presence. We're not just posting, checking that box, and then showing, hey, like this video got this engagement rate, here's the views, here's the breakdown. But then I think that engagement rate is super important with TikTok, because I think that following, the audience, they want to be engaging with the brands more than ever.
Totally makes sense. We are going to have to start wrapping up here. But again, say thank you to everyone who came. If you want to connect with each other offline, highly encourage you to do so. Once again, we've had Stuart Drew, Senior Social Media Manager for the Miami Dolphins, as well as Nick Cicero, VP of Strategy at Conviva. Highly encourage you all to go check out demos of Conviva's social insights tool to get a sense of your TikTok performance as well as your other social platforms. They do fantastic work. I'm proud to have them as a partner. And subscribe to the FOS newsletter, and I know we'll have more of these webinars coming your way in the very immediate future. So thank you all so much. Stay safe and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Take it easy, Joe.